good morning and welcome to FYI. It's the third Thursday, so we get to visit with Gary DeLacy, Superintendent of Schools at Clinton. Gary, great to have you in. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Of course, the election is getting closer, less than 3 weeks away. We want to talk about some of the educational issues. What are they on the table?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really important election in terms of the direction of where public education is going to go. A number of things were up in the last legislative session. I'll be honest, you look at the first thing that most people are probably, I think, vouchers, which ended up not getting through. But I'm sure, depending on this election, that will be one of the first things put on the table again. I'm probably one of the few public school superintendents. I'm not opposed to vouchers as long as the playing field is even. And one of my issues is the bill that the governor put out discriminates, that private schools can take public money, but yet they pick and choose who they would serve. I just don't think that's right. I mean, if you're going to take the public money, you should serve anyone that comes in the door. I think that's one thing. I think for the voters out there, I think most Iowans would say, yeah, if you take public money, anyone that wants to go to that school should be able to go to that school, and it's not a pick and choose situation. So I think that's one thing I would encourage voters to look at the candidates out there on that issue and where do they stand on that. And it's not just vouchers, it's do they support that discriminatory language that was in the bill last year.
Gary, how did this subject come about? Why all of a sudden they were bringing up the possibility of vouchers?
I'll be honest, I really feel like this is a push by the national and state Republican parties. I don't think there's any groundswell within the state of Iowa for this. There is already a lot of choice with open enrollment and different things and private schools. We have a lot of choice. I really think this is something that's being pushed from outside of the state into the state. Like I said, I think if you talk to most Iowans, they are very proud of their public schools. The majority of Iowans are products of public schools. There's been, I think the quality of the public schools in Iowa has always been strong. To be honest with you, I don't think there is an internal Iowa movement for this, at least in mass. There might be a few people, but in mass, I don't see that at all. But I do think this is a major push by the Republican Party to, in the spirit of choice, to add this to the choice. Now, my problem with the discriminatory language, this is going to create a two-track system. If private schools are able to pick and choose, I can visualize the students they're going to serve, and then who the public schools are going to serve. So I don't think that's where most Iowans are at on that issue, but I'm going to be honest, I think this will be a major push in the legislative session. I think another area that's going to come up in this legislative session that was in the last one is transparency. I'll be honest, I think public schools are very transparent right now. I just think this, again, is maybe a major push on things, but there are already things in place that if somebody wants to come in and see what our curriculum is, if you would want to object to a particular book in a library, there's a process and board policy. All those things are already in place. So part of it is I don't think it's not a situation that it's not available or mechanism. Again, I think this is more of a political push to make it sound like, hey, things are out of control and we need more parent involvement. Those opportunities already exist. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I would push out there, we have nothing to hide in public schools. I mean, we're very transparent. We have to be transparent. I always look at our certified annual report. You have to account for every penny that you take in and every penny that you spend each year, and then that has to be audited. I mean, that's how diligent it is in public schools. And then you have a local school board that actually goes ahead and has to oversee that are locally elected. So I think it's a great system. We need to support that, and that leads into my third point is just local control. And I think most Iowans are big believers in local control. I'm going to tell you, in the last few years, a lot of decisions have been made in Des Moines that trump local control. And especially with the return to learn plans, initially we were given our right and left limits. When a few districts said, hey, no one's vaccinated, we're going to start virtually, the governor stepped in right away and said, no, you've got to provide 50%. That changed. It even changed our plan at the time. And then they passed a bill in February 2021 that pretty much blew up our hybrid system, which was, again, a local decision. And then, of course, then they passed a bill in May of 2021 that didn't allow us to require masking anymore. And that was when no students were vaccinated at that point. And again, it was a local board decision at that point, and the legislature just went ahead and trumped that local control. So, again, I think this election is going to really, those key areas, plus probably a few others, are going to be really on the ballot.
Okay, and again, get out and vote. November 8th is the day.
Please research your candidates, and if those issues are important to you, support the candidates that support those issues of local control and I would say a fair competition system and so on.
Again, visiting with Gary DeLacy, Superintendent of Schools here in Clinton. Well, Clinton Community College, just down the avenue from Clinton High School, in fact, a great college, got its start actually in Clinton High School when it was first came about. Boy, they're doing some great things, and they got an open house coming up on Monday.
Yeah. So back in 2016, there was legislation passed that said that every junior and senior in Iowa would have an opportunity to have high-quality career pathways. And part of that concept was regional centers. Well, it's been a long journey in 2016, but it wasn't that long ago. 2020, we actually passed a bond issue that created a career and technical center, and I know now I think they're calling it a career awareness center. They're going to have an open house this Monday night from 4 to 7 for the public to come in. I'm encouraging the public to come in. I think it's going to be a great avenue for the students in eastern Clinton County. So there's 4 districts that are really kind of committed to sending their students there, and that's Clinton, Comanche, Northeast, and Easton Valley are coming into the Clinton Center. And we've committed 150 students probably starting next year moving forward. This year's been more of a soft opening. They're just getting kids in there in the last week or two. So on that, but I would really encourage the public to come in and take a look at those. There is 9 different career pathways, and just naming a few: ag, welding, auto technology, construction technology, culinary, education, health services. I think that I've hit a majority of those, and a lot of those are going to be either concurrent, which means you get both high school and college credit. A lot of them you will be credentialed at the end, which means you might have seniors getting their diploma, but they already have a credential in those areas if they complete the 2 years, or they'll be on the path to be credentialed if they're not quite there yet in terms of their high school diploma. So I think it really ties in with the governor's Future Iowa initiative. They say 70% of the jobs in Iowa right now require something between a high school diploma and a 2-year credential. In this program, I'm not just for our juniors and seniors. I'm really talking to the people out there too that may have graduated, those adults that may be looking for a career change. I think there will be an adult education component that'll be run through Eastern Iowa Community College in these areas as well. So I'm assuming evening classes, maybe weekend classes for those people that are working but want to advance. Most of the programming, I'll be honest, at Clinton Community College to me has been more of that feeder into a 4-year school. And now this programming really does zero in, I think, on what the business sector of Clinton County is really begged for, to say, you know what, there's a lot of great paying jobs that are in that 1 to 2 years after high school, get credentialed and move into that manufacturing sector, which our area is really strong in, and we've been begging, and they're begging for workforce.
Yeah, you bring up. I had Dr. Brian Kelly in on the program not long ago, and boy, he is a real champion of community colleges. And I tell you, I just heard in the news this morning, for the third straight year, college enrollment is down, but I could see where something like this would be of great benefit.
Well, and to be honest with you is, especially with, one of the things I would encourage parents out there, if you get your student going in that junior, senior year, you can have that career exploration at no cost. So even if your student went and for a year and said, nah, I thought I was interested in not, that's a lot better time to figure that out than doing a year or two into college where you're paying tuition and then making the decision you don't like that. And then, like I said, there's a possibility some of our seniors graduating could be credentialed. You can just imagine the savings in college tuition based on having those opportunities your junior, senior year. So, I mean, to me, this is a great thing for Clinton families to look at if that is the right fit for their children. And like I said, I think they, if you can't make it Monday night, I would certainly reach out to Clinton Community College and ask for an opportunity to talk to them in their tour. And obviously, our counselors at the 4 high schools will be working very closely to get our, January, we start scheduling juniors and seniors for next year. So 3 months from now, we're scheduling for next year. And one of the goals will be is to get our junior, our current sophomores and juniors, which will be juniors and seniors next year, over there, take a look at that. Is this something that they want to do? You're going to spend about half of your day over there. There's going to be a career pathway. There'll be a portion where it might be technical writing. It could be technical math, something that'll tie into that, but also something you'll need to graduate with, get your math credit, get your language arts credit, and so on. It's going to provide avenues where before you would have had to go to the Quad Cities at a minimum to get this opportunity, and now it's going to be right here in Clinton.
More with Gary DeLacy. We're going to take a break for the weather, brought to you by Midas.
We're tracking a warmer day with a mix of sun and clouds, a little less in the way of wind. We'll see highs into the mid-60s for this afternoon. Not as cold tonight, partly cloudy skies, lows near 40, and then much warmer for Friday, mostly sunny, highs into the upper 70s. With your Storm Track 8 forecast, I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutzky.
Fair skies, we're up to 40 degrees now. Our update brought to you by Midas. Trust the Midas touch. Trust the Clinton Midas on Lincoln Way. With a change of season, the Clinton Midas will have you ready for the road ahead. See them for top quality interstate batteries. Make sure of good visibility with new windshield wipers, and grip the road better with the Midas selection of tires, no matter what you drive. And of course, the Clinton Midas provides quality maintenance for your vehicle. The Clinton Midas, 1432 Lincoln Way, 242-2511. Trust the Midas touch. Visiting with Gary DeLacy. Well, let's talk a little bit about the high school renovation. I was talking to Nate Herrig yesterday. I had to do the pregame for tomorrow's game at Iowa City Liberty, and you were telling me the area of the building that he is in is from 1919, and they are scheduled to tear that down.
They are. So that will, when the phase one, which is that 3-story academic wing, which right now is going up in that east parking lot. I just saw the latest thing. We're about 76% done with that. And we are projecting in January that'll get turned over to the district. So our goal would be at that point, we will transfer those core classes that are offered at Clinton High School into that new wing. Then I'll be honest, there'll probably be about a month and a half to 2 months where we have to finish some asbestos abatement. We'll have our last big public garage sale for anybody that wants to come in and make a deal on what they want to get, and then we'll go through the process of that build. And that Nate's room is actually right down from the room that I taught it for 16 years, room 219. that academic wing, which most of the people that have went to Clinton High School, that's where you spent the majority of your time. That was built in 1919, so that building will be tore down. And then after that demo, then what will go in that same area will be a brand new fine arts wing, which will be your orchestra, band, and vocal. There will be a brand new CTE, which will be kind of your welding, woods, those kinds of things. And between there will be a brand new performing arts center. And for the first time, like our current setup, our music wing is in the shops wing, which is in the far back. Well, their performance area is Cook Theater. So they're on opposite ends of the campus, which that's the poorest design possible for them. And especially our building, it's like 3 buildings put together at once. So even to move the bigger equipment, you can get there, but it's hard. We're using elevators and things to make that happen. So, the design of the new one is kind of nice that you can actually, since the wood, your wood shop and things is right next to the Performing Arts Center, you could do a lot of your set work in the wood shop. Yeah. And then you just take it over to the stage. Or we even said, let's say you wanted to have a car as a prop. We would have the capacity now to do that. And I know a lot of people will look at Cook Theater and say, well, that's still pretty good. But when Cook Theater was built, there was a number of things that were taken out because of budget. A pit. We don't have a pit. We don't have fly space. And it was built in the late 60s. And like I said, geographically, it just doesn't fit with where our music program is at. So I'm excited for that phase, but that phase will take us all the way to the summer of 2024 by the time that piece gets done. And at that point, we'll have 1 year to go. The 1968-69 edition after the fire, which is basically the front of the building, would be that last tear down. And the shops wing will be part of the tear down. And then we'll build the front of it, which will be an administrative suite. It'll be the smallest of 3 phases to do that. So we are planning an open house, hopefully late January, for people to see phase 1. Okay. I would also encourage, if people have not, and of course our last fall event was Tuesday with the volleyball. You'll have to now wait about a month for our winter sports to start. But if you haven't been in your gym, you will have seen that that's been transformed, and with the mezzanine bleachers being new, brand new basketball supports. It's been completely painted. It's now climate controlled for the first time. So when we get to graduation at the end of May, we should be able to climate control it. And we'll see how well it holds up to 2,500 people, but it's a lot better than what we had before when we just had fans blowing hot air around. So we're excited about that. It's starting to come together. But like I said, there's going to be a lot of history that's going to be demoed.
It'll be interesting. When it's all done, it's going to be great, no doubt about that. Again, visiting with Gary DeLacy. Got about 6 minutes left in the program. Yesterday was parent-teacher conference at the high school. It'll be coming up for the middle school and elementary students and their parents in November. You wanted to talk about the importance of these conferences.
Yeah. One of the things that I think is really important is education as a partnership. And this Clinton Community School District really wants to work closely with families on their child's education. And one of the things I would say right out of the gate is don't wait for parent-teacher conferences if you have questions or concerns. That we're always available. Please reach out, set up a meeting with us. We are more than willing to accommodate. But we also have these scheduled parent-teacher conferences, and that just gives you an opportunity to really sit down and have that face-to-face discussion. I'll be honest, parents, I would encourage you to have your child with you. I think a lot of times, that's one of the missing pieces is, if we're talking about that, let's have the child be part of that discussion as well in terms of what's going well, where can we improve, how can we have a plan to move forward. there's so much talk about differentiation now and trying to meet the needs of each individual child. So I just think having those conversations and really being in partnership with the teacher and working hand in hand with the parent is really important. And those conversations I think are just really important. And a lot of it just, you don't get the same feel as you do with an email or a phone call. And sometimes you just need that, to me, education is very humanistic, and there's just times you need that face-to-face conversation. We've built in that time in the next few weeks at the middle school and at the elementary level. I would encourage all of you to make sure you look on the district calendar and make sure that you have that opportunity to talk to your child's teachers.
I would imagine, and of course you taught for a number of years, in these conferences, the dynamics have got to be a little different from what are the concerns of an elementary parent, what are the concerns of a middle school parent, what are the concerns of a high school parent.
Yeah, and I would think one of the biggest, there's some similarities because you're obviously always talking about that fundamental educational base. I talk about math. I'm thinking back to math. I mean, I think whether any of those three levels, that's probably a similar conversation. But I think the conversations, particularly I think turning right around 7th, 8th grade, and definitely more intense in high school, is more of that career exploration now, and starting to have conversations in terms of, that junior, senior year, there is a lot of flexibility with schedules, and that kind of leads into that CTE, but it doesn't have to be CTE either. What if that student does aspire to be an engineer and wants to go to a 4-year schooling, really starting to have conversations, excuse me, about, okay, let's map out the coursework and what's appropriate for them to get into this university, and what are the things we need to be thinking about, and that kind of planning going forward. So to me, a lot of those conversations at the middle school and high school level isn't just about what's happening in the moment with this class. I think you start having some of those conversations about, okay, we really start looking ahead in the future, and what is the high interest of our students and things like that. Yeah. So that would be probably one of the biggest difference, where at the elementary level, you probably are talking more about the academics, whether they're on pace, probably some social, emotional kinds of things.
Getting back to, to the career, and I know as an instructor, you can't really determine what the person's going to do in their future, but do you say, hey, have you ever considered this?
Absolutely. I mean, as a former math teacher, and I think we need to do a better job as teachers of this. I mean, if we see that kid that has, not only are they good at content, but they're really good at with relationships and things like that, are we really planting the seed in their mind? Have you ever considered being a math teacher? Have you ever considered, tying that with coaching or being in the fine arts and things like that? Because Lord knows right now we have a labor shortage. So, they're used, and I'll be honest, Gary, there was times when I was a teacher, I would actually discourage kids from don't go and be a PE teacher. You'll never get a job. There's a way too big of a surplus. Well, I can't say that anymore, because last year we went a semester without a PE teacher at Bluff. So it's heck, right now, I'll be honest, everything seems to be wide open. But not just in education, but you see that kid that seems to have a special gift or skill in your area to really say, hey, have you thought about engineering? Have you thought about ag? Have you thought about, or even have you thought about the military? I mean, what those things, I really think when you get into that upper middle school and then definitely in the high school, those kinds of conversations, you really need to get the kids and the parents of those kids having those conversations.
Great conversation with you as always. Appreciate you coming in and visiting with us. Looking forward to November.
Yep, absolutely. We got a little bit in October yet. We got a big regional volleyball game tonight up at Manchester against West Delaware, and then our final football game tomorrow night out at Iowa City.
14